Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to develop your own C-41 color film. Here's what you'll need to start developing your own film. A 1000 milliliter beaker for measuring while mixing your chemicals, and a chemical stirrer. 3 glass amber or plastic bottles, a unicolor C-41 chemical kit which includes the developer, Blix, and stabilizer, a Patterson developing tank, and optional is a film canister opener if you're purchasing prepackaged film, a funnel and thermometer, a squeegee, film clip set, and shower curtain hook. I'll leave a link so you can purchase all of these items in the description below. The first step into developing your own film is to load your film onto a film spool. Now if you're using the Patterson system like I am, you'll have 2 of these plastic spools. Defaultly they are set for 35 millimeters, so if you're developing for medium format or 120, you'll need to change the spool size. And in order to do that, you just take one of the halves and you just rotate them against each other, and then you pull out, and then you'll see this little notch here, and what you want to do is line that with the edge of the spool and just twist it back on. And now you have a spool sized for 120. Since I'm developing 35 millimeter, I'm just going to change it back. And if you're developing 35 millimeter, you can do 2 spools within one development. So when you go to load your film, make sure you're in complete darkness, either in a changing bag or maybe a bathroom or closet or something like that. And if you do use a bathroom or closet, make sure it's completely light sealed. So maybe sit in the room for a few minutes, make sure there's no light peeking through before you start loading your film, because any light will expose and will ruin your film. Another thing to note, you cannot use a safe light or red light when loading film because that will also expose your film. And just another tip, make sure you keep electronics or anything with some sort of display out of the room, because if that goes off and you get a notification or a text, that will generate light, which will also ruin your film. So just make sure you're fully prepared before you start loading your film. Now, once you're in your room or changing bag, and if you're using a canister, like a store-bought canister like these, you'll need to get either a film retriever, which is like a little metal slip that slides in there and pulls the film out, or you can get one of these, which is a film canister opener, and you basically just put it on there, and it's almost like a beer bottle opener, and you just pop the top off, and you can pull your film out. So once you have your film leader and everything, you'll cut the lead off of there, make it flat, and then you'll be ready to start loading it onto your film spool. So once you have your flat end of your film, I like to take the spool and face the flat notches towards me. I find that easiest, but really play around with it and find what's easier for you. It might be a good idea to maybe get some old film negative or maybe ruin a roll of film just to practice in complete light so you can get the muscle memory of loading film, because it may seem much easier in daylight, but once you're in complete pitch blackness, it's really tedious. So take the flat end and just feed it right on through these little flat notches. And what you might notice here is a couple little ball bearings. So you're just going to feed it a little bit past that, and maybe about like 1.5 inches or so, and that's usually good enough. And then you'll just start rotating one of the halves of the spool, and it'll start feeding the film on there. One thing you want to watch for is make sure it doesn't get bulged or caught, kind of like it did here. And if it does, just snap it back on and just keep feeding it through. Just keep feeding it through. And then once you're to the end of your roll, you'll want to cut the other end of your film, and then you could set this aside. And now you want to take this little peg and feed it through a spool or both spools. Then take your spool and drop it right in the tank. And lastly, take this little top piece here and set it on top, and then rotate it till you hear a little click. And now your developing tank is completely light sealed, and you could take it right out of the changing bag or take it right out of the room you're using And now we can move on to the next step, which is actually developing the film. The first thing we need to do is get both the developer and Blix to 102 through 105 Fahrenheit. The fastest and easiest way I've found to heat up my chemicals is by putting both the developer and Blix into a sink with running hot water. Once they have both reached around 105 Fahrenheit, take them out of the sink and set them aside. Periodically check the temperature of your developer. When it's lowered to 102 Fahrenheit, we will start pre-soaking our film. Start running some tap water and use a thermometer to ensure it's at 102 Fahrenheit. Fill your developing tank with water until it gets up to the inner rim. Set the tank aside and start your timer. The pre-soak will need to set for 1 minute. Once your timer hits 1 minute, empty your developing tank. The next step is pouring in the developer. The developing process will need to last 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Pour the developer into the tank until it reaches the inner rim. Start your timer and agitate the film for 10 seconds. Then, secure the lid onto the tank. Do 4 inversions every 30 seconds. Then, tap the developing tank on the side of a table or sink a few times after each inversion. This prevents air bubbles from forming on the film. Here's a timeline when to start doing each inversion process. At 3 minutes and 25 seconds, start pouring the developer back into the container. Then, rinse the funnel thoroughly to avoid cross-contaminating the chemicals. Check the temperature of the Blix. Make sure that it's between 95 Fahrenheit through 105 Fahrenheit. The Blix process will need to last 6 minutes and 25 seconds. It's a very similar process as the developer. Pour the Blix into the tank until it reaches the inner rim. Start your timer and agitate the film for 10 seconds. Then, secure the lid onto the tank. Again, do 4 inversions every 30 seconds, but this time there's no need to tap the tank. Here's a timeline of when to start doing each inversion process. At 6 minutes and 25 seconds, start pouring the Blix back into the container. Make sure to rinse the funnel again. Next, we need to wash our film with running water. Make sure your water temperature is between 95 Fahrenheit through 105 Fahrenheit. Set your tank under the faucet and start your timer. Pour out the water and set your tank aside. The next process is the stabilizer. The stabilizer process will need to last 1 minute. Pour the stabilizer into the tank until it reaches the inner rim. Start your timer and agitate the film for 15 seconds. At 55 seconds, start pouring the stabilizer back into the container. You may now take out your film. Hang the film to dry, then use a squeegee to prevent droplets from drying on your film. Let the film dry for an hour or 2. Be sure to rinse all of the developing tank pieces so that it will be ready for your next use. You'll probably get about 8 through 12 rolls of developed film before you will need to replace your chemicals again. Now you can keep developing after 8 or 12 rolls, but the results might be unpredictable or undesirable. You'll know when to replace your chemicals when your film negatives start turning from an orange color more to a purple color. I hope this tutorial has really helped you in developing your very first roll of film, and sound off in the comments below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you again next time.